Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be, wherever you find yourself today. We're very happy that you're with us as we embark upon the next episode of SGA Live, coming direct to you over Gutman's YouTube channel. This bi weekly show brings to you members of your Student Government Association in an attempt to connect with them on various topics of interest. So our hope is that as you watch this video and you learn a little bit about the people that represent you, you'd be more inclined to establish a connection with them, especially because week is special as we will be rolling out our SGA office hours, meaning that the members of the Student Government Association will be hosting various Zoom rooms that will allow you a chance to connect with them and be a part of the show. Give me 1 second, Brooklyn. You gotta go. I know. And just like that, we we are interrupted once again. So my apologies. That being said, today's show is very special. Our treasurer, Renan Barsha, will join us today for a discussion on dining, specifically how to eat right on a budget. Renan, are you there with us today?
Yes, hello.
All right. So, Renan, why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself as we get into your discussion?
All right. Hi, everyone. As mentioned before, I am the treasurer for SGA. I'm a business major here at Gutman. Other clubs I was involved in were UMOC, PTK, and I was the one of the founders of the soccer team, or the soccer club here at Gutman.
Very cool. So, you are now a second year student at the school and treasurer for the SGA. And how was that transition for you from your first year to second year?
Well, obviously, it was a bit hectic because of the whole pandemic thing, and I would say was a bit less productive than I would have been initially, and then with my whole schedule changing and the whole format of learning really changing, it's still a bit hectic. And also, there was a newborn that my sister had not too long ago, so again, pretty hectic overall.
Well, yeah,
But yeah,
congratulations.
I'm finding my
Congratulations on a
footing.
baby. That's awesome. New babies are always a pleasure, except when they're crying, like my daughter in the background. So we're gonna try to keep myself muted as much as possible while we go through this thing. But Renan, let's talk a little bit about what brought us to your subject today, dining right. And go ahead and do that screen share so that we can use that as our image.
Yeah, all right. All right, so my presentation today is eating right on a budget. I found a few useful tips, mainly on this one guy that I'll share with you at the end. But overall, my presentation is how to eat right, what to look for, and specific things about budgeting within that, yeah, which is mainly just tips and tricks.
All right. So, the interesting thing about eating on a budget is that a lot of us found ourselves uh, pandemically isolated is the words that I use now. And so once upon a time you couldn't go out, and if you did, it was to go to the grocery store, get your food and get back into the house as quickly as possible. So, like the days of, I think, just randomly wasting money outside in fast food places sort of changed, especially as they shut down restaurants. But you had an interest in this, I think, even before we were doing this, because our conversations, you mentioned being a student and not having tons of money and trying to figure out how to eat. Is that right?
Sorry. Yeah, just generally, I was trying to find ways that I could stay healthy, but also not eat just terrible food. Like I tried to avoid a lot of the foods within the area that were more affordable to myself and my peers, like Chick-fil-A, Chipotle, or like a lot of the lower quality, well, seen as lower quality foods. Um, I wouldn't necessarily say that like there's much of a on that note. I wouldn't necessarily say that there's much of a difference between like Starbucks or like McDonald's or even Chick-fil-A, because like a lot of the same things you see in one place you see in the other, as in like the same methods that you use. There was an article recently about how the meat, or I believe the chicken, has cancer causing agents in Chipotle's chicken.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fear around the eating or consumption of food that has preservatives, additives, chemical agents in them, things that we may not understand or even know are there. And so, the fear is that you're putting these things in your body, and that it's affecting your health. It's destroying your body. Um, and not only that, you're also paying for these things, right? So you're spending potentially, as far as I know from the students, what I've heard is like $12 to $20 a day to get this food, and that it can potentially do bad things to your long-term health.
Yeah, that's one of the major things that concerned me when I was doing this research. Another thing that I found actually is a lot of people, on like on a side note, a lot of people say that like Starbucks is held to a higher standard, but like if you look at a lot of the ingredients that you would get for a lot of the foods, they have more or less the same fillers as a place that's seen as lower class, like Dunkin' Donuts or something like that. So you're not really getting a much better quality. It's more like the idea of you getting something that's healthier for you.
All right, so without much further ado, Renan, why don't you go ahead and take us into your presentation, and give the people a sense of like how they can eat healthy on a budget, because yeah, I gotta admit, I'm interested in that, because saving money uh, and eating healthy seem to not go hand in hand, considering that the word on the street is that organic or healthier food options tend to be more expensive than the fast food stuff that is easily and readily available to most of our students. So take it away, Renan, and share your wisdom with us.
All right, so I'm trying to think where to start. Yeah, I'm gonna go off the organic note because a lot of people like that. I'm not gonna lie, that is one of the major things that like you can't really compromise budget with food. So what I usually do is I try to eat as little meat as possible because that's one of the major things that I feel is a detriment to people's health nowadays. Um, because a lot of the industrial practices are terrible. So my advice for that would be own like eat either organic meat or locally produced meat. If you could buy locally produced meat, that's a lot better. Because the major thing with a lot of meats is that they go through a bunch of terrible industrial practices, and so you have all these agents that like you definitely don't want. And yet, even if you don't eat those meats, then you're still going to have a lot of the problems that that people have that do eat meat. I believe there's like the average person has like 13 pesticides within their body. But like generally, if you don't eat as much meat as most other people, then you wouldn't see that many problems. At least most like most industrially produced meats with a bunch of hormones and whatnot. So what I usually do is just like I save it for like once a month, a special occasion where I can buy meat that I know is high quality or locally produced. or something along those lines.
Okay. So, I mean, when in terms of your diet, I mean, I imagine you're starting out with the thing that we've all learned, which is the food pyramid, right? And so there's a way to structure or stack what you eat. The other hack that I've heard is that, eat the colors. So anything that has a naturally occurring color, or that shows up in nature, is probably good. So your greens, your reds, your oranges, your yellows, your purples, um, uh, I guess blueberries, right? That counts. So like what your approach to eating healthy is a baseline protein, at least from what I'm hearing, and then complemented with some organic or natural occurring stuff. Is that right?
To an extent, I never really look for a baseline protein, but like generally, I've been okay finding sources of protein. I know like, a lot of soy-based protein is pretty good, and I haven't had trouble transitioning to that. Or there wasn't a period of time where I'm like, man, it was really difficult to give up on meat for a period of time. So yeah, to an extent, like I could find baseline
Okay.
proteins in like eggs and stuff.
All right. So let what I think we should do, just for the purposes of this conversation, is let's walk the people through like a what a Monday through Friday would be like for most Gutman students. And considering like we're in a pandemic lockdown and we're not allowed to come to campus, obviously things change, but that's our starting point. I think when we had the idea to do this talk, it was, if you're going to campus and you're surrounded by fast food establishments and or expensive things, how do you eat in a way that's not going to destroy your body, or pack on what most people would call the freshman 15 or the first year 15, which is like an extra 15 pounds that just comes out of nowhere seemingly, but it's just bad eating. um so let's talk about what would a typical Monday through Friday for a Gutman student look like in terms of like that breakfast, lunch, and dinner option.
I mean, I imagine most people eating cereal for breakfast if they're really busy and they have extracurriculars and classes and everything to study for, so they can't make the heartiest breakfast. Cereals are usually fine as long as you're not getting like, again, the industrial cereals are really bad. But this time, I could definitely recommend more local cereal, or like those like not like cheaper, but like better cereal brands. Those are fairly cheap. I haven't found any problems buying those, and I haven't really found much on them being secretly terrible. Because I found a lot on other brands, but those are fine. But I wouldn't say like cereal's bad. Oatmeal's like for breakfast it's usually pretty cheap because you just need to add a couple fruits, which aren't always bad. And like if you want non-GMO fruits, that's a different story, but I'll get to that. But generally,
Yeah, so you say GMO, you got to give people, we can't just say GMO and assume that everybody knows. So when you say GMO, what are we talking about?
so GMOs is an acronym for genetically modified organisms. Um, and the reason that I bring that up is because a lot of people nowadays have major problems with them. If we're on the topic now, I guess I can transition into that. I don't have any problem with them. I've looked up some things on it, and I haven't like the major concern that most people have, from my point of view, is it like either isn't legitimate or like is, but it's more related to terrible practices rather than GMOs themselves being bad. The one that makes sense is that they use this pesticide that would kill the crops usually, uh, mainly because it's cheaper and it's a bit more effective, or effective in air quotes, because like who's it really affecting? But like it would be beneficial to the company if they could use this pesticide if it wasn't killing the crop so much, and they genetically modify organisms occasionally to make it so that the plant would survive this. And that's the major concern. And like from the point of view that makes sense. The other concern is just that science is bad. Like it's anti-vax stuff that doesn't really make sense. And so like I'd say that
Yeah. Yeah.
GMO, like the fear for GMOs isn't entirely legitimate. They already use a lot of pesticides anyway, so I wouldn't spend extra money on non-GMO so much as I would trying to find a local market where I can buy like food that I know wouldn't necessarily be ridden with pesticides.
Yeah. I mean, I hear the words genetically modified organism, and that's not necessarily something that I want to put in my body when I hear it that way. I know that I most likely have up until this point. But as you were chatting, Renan, some of our folks in the chat room talked about going to Panera for breakfast and lunch, or the deli for breakfast sandwich, and then pizza for lunch, because we knew that, you know, one of the appeals of the fast food for the student is it's, and I'm doing air quotes, it's cheaper price point. Um, and so you feel like you're eating something that's going to fill you up, and you're not spending a lot of money. But Panera is not exactly pocketbook friendly. A deli breakfast sandwich every day is at minimum, $5 to $6, and that's if you're gonna get water from your job or the school, as opposed to having to buy a bottle of water, which then takes it up a notch. Most of our students are eating bacon, egg, and cheese and orange juice. And it's bacon, egg, and cheese slathered in ketchup, salt, and pepper, with bodega grease on it. Some people are having $2 bagels covered in cream cheese, which carries with it, you know like a lot of carbs, a lot of the things that are rumored to produce that unhealthy weight gain, or that unnecessary weight gain. Then there's you're eating that bag of Doritos, 2 or 3 times throughout the day. You're drinking soda, which is like acid in your body, and just, it's like a chemical wash for your internal organs. Um, I didn't see very many salads, or cured meats. So what I saw is burritos, um, tacos, uh, quarter pounders with cheese, Whoppers, chicken sandwich, but covered in the sugary barbecue sauce or the honey mustard sauce, with the French fries covered in the ketchup, and the super gulp sized soda, um, that you only drank half of it and then left the cup in the room. Who's gonna clean that? But that's a different story. So, so then that is, I think, and unless I'm wrong here, that's the traditional student mindset about eating. It's quick. It does its job, and I'm back in the building. I'm in class. I'm not late. All that kind of stuff. And what we're saying is that there's a better way, right? Or at least what you're telling me is that there's a better way. So what is the better way, Renan? How do students uh, eat healthy? What are the things that they need to make this thing happen for them, so that they're not, if we do the math, uh, let's just say, $20 a day times 5 days a week is $100. That's if you're only spending $20 a day, and that's $100 a week. That's $400 a month. And by extension, however much for the year. That's a lot of money.
1600,
So
like
give us
1600.
this the life hack.
So like I'm not gonna act like I didn't do that myself. Like I had like mainly I had pizza throughout the year because it's cheap, it's easier. I don't have to worry about that much. But what I usually try to do is I try to make. I usually just try to make a bunch of food that I know wouldn't go bad. Like I have like there's this YouTube channel that I want to share at the end, but like there's this curry recipe that's pretty cheap and easy, and it's really good. I just make a bunch of that, take it to school, micro nuke it, and like I have lunch for the week. Uh, yeah, the week. It could last me the week potentially. And yeah, if it gets bland, I would get a pizza now and then. But that's like a bit of empty carbs one day a week and like $6 out of my pocket versus pizza the entire week, empty carbs, and I'm sad.
All right.
Um,
So it sounds like life hack number one is prepare food that you can eat for the week.
yes,
That sounds like step one.
prepare food in abundance and also like think 10 steps ahead. What I did, I mentioned this before, but what I did throughout the majority of the week that I did in high school is I made a list of foods that I was going to make this week, time schedules to make them, and I did. I didn't have any problems with that because like making food, at least for me, it's not a huge detriment. It's not like a daunting task. At least these foods, because they're not too difficult. I'd say. I wanted to ask the
Okay.
chat
So
though, how familiar are they
go ahead.
with like culinary skills? How familiar are they with cooking? Because like I'm just gonna say now the for the channel that I'm going to recommend is Struggle Meals. They have a bunch of recipes that I find really useful and also great. Um, just generally great tips on how to save money on grocery shopping, how not to waste food, what exactly to buy. It's a great channel, I'd say.
Well, we know that Jeraine, based on her comments, is great with eggs, and eggs are one of those easiest items to make. And I'll say easy in the sense that I can make eggs, whether it's scrambled, whether it's fried with the yellow part popped and cooked. I can't eat runny eggs. Whether you hard boil them and then and eat it that way. Versatile, very easy to make. Not a lot of work, not a lot of tools needed to make the egg. So we at least have that part down.
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of
Um,
the
I don't
recipes
see anything.
that I think of when I think of healthier eating, they're not that difficult to make. Like one of my favorite recipes that's like pretty easy and healthy is what's broccoli soup. And I know that doesn't sound appealing, but like all you really have to do is heat up broccoli, put it in a blender, salt, oil, and it's delicious. You can put like some cheese on it and like eat it with crackers. It's really good. It doesn't sound that good, but like it saves me a lot of the weeks when I don't have much to eat. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I am a big fan of a cheddar broccoli soup. I know that Panera, to Jeraine's point, makes a pretty good cheddar broccoli soup. Um, but it it definitely is a tasty alternative. And soup is nice and filling, especially because we spend a majority of our year in the cold. When you all come back to school, we get like one really good month of the end of the summer weather, and then all of a sudden you blink and it's freezing and negative 30 below. So soup is good for the soul at that point.
Yeah, I mean, like another thing, like I love soups with banana. Also, that's one of the other things that I usually cheat with, mainly because they're cheap. They're like $5. They may not be the most filling thing, but like I'm usually satisfied with them.
And something that just struck me is that because somebody put in the chat, you can bring eggs. One of the difficulties that we have at our campus in particular is we don't have cooking facilities, where on some campuses there are residence halls that have kitchen or kitchenettes. The most that we have on our campus is microwaves so that students can access that. There's two microwaves currently in the student lounge, and there's a couple that are throughout the building as folks have brought those in. But that's uh that's also something that makes it difficult for the students to prepare, is that we don't have a place where you can even bring ingredients and make stuff. So a lot of this stuff is things that you got to bring to to the campus. And do you want to have 30 bags? Do you want to have 18 different things to carry, and then you lose your water bottle, you forget the bag with your sandwich in it, or that kind of stuff. So those are things that students may run into in terms of, like, it's just easy for me to pay this money. But if you do the math, like, it's a significant amount of money that's being spent on food.
I mean, I'd say it's mainly personal. Like they have to factor in what they're willing to sacrifice and like understand, like plan out their week again. Like, should I spend this much money this week, or or will it be better if I just spend some time, sacrifice some space in my bag to bring a sandwich or something like that?
Yeah, so then it's ultimately a mindset of practicality over comfort, in terms of, bring your sandwich. You can make 5 sandwiches, seal them up, and then just put them in the bag ready to go. Find a kind of book bag that accommodates, that has a pouch where you could put your food. They do sell insulated bags that keep stuff cold or warm, or at temperatures, so that you don't have to worry about eating it necessarily right away. Um, Fruit travel really well. They're self-contained. Banana comes in its skin. Apple, orange. All you need to do is wash it, and boom, you can scarf that down. Um, uh, there's other things like yogurts that travel well also, and then you could throw a little granola, a little chop up your own fresh fruit into that. So it sounds like there's options for students, and a lot of it is revolving around the mindset. So, because what I'm hearing from what you're saying is that you've made strategic decisions about bringing food in and preparing in advance, as opposed to going into a week saying, I'm going to spend $50 to $100 right now on these food items.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to spend like most of the weeks I tried to spend as little money as possible, but I knew like I was going to at some point spend money, so I tried to prepare for that. I tried to make sure that I was satisfied with meals that I had at school. Ooh, tried to look for ways to avoid spending money. Like I believe they would like if it was an apple at single stop, I tried to okay, am I satisfied with this? And if it was, I could go on. If not, I'd like occasionally went to one of the areas around the place, and then they would try to keep it below $20 is what my week would usually look like. So
Yeah, yeah. So, Renan, what's the ultimate secret? So, like, if you had to distill, uh, and then we'll get into that, whatever the YouTube video is that you wanted to share with the folks. But if you had like one or two ultimate hacks to give to the people around eating um, on a budget, or eating well on a budget, what would it be?
well, one of the ultimate hacks that I would give is mainly to lose weight if that's what you're looking for, rather than just generally being healthy. Just look at calories, look at content, and look at how much you should be. Look at that in comparison to how much you should be consuming. So, like for saturated fats, like it said that you would have that be below 5% for monosaturated and polysaturated fats. It's like below 10%. Generally just look at things like that. Look at how much you should be eating in terms of calories and how much you should be eating if you want to lose weight, and exactly how much weight you would want to be losing, and find something that's sustainable, which is why I say, like, don't, I wouldn't go on a diet per se. I would look like the keto diet. I found one person who actually lost weight from that, and everybody else who I talked to that tried the diet didn't find it sustainable at all. So like it's a contemporary thing where you lose weight to like a wedding. It's not something where it's not a life-changing thing if you want to drop 30 pounds, right? And keep it that way, because you're like, after 2 weeks you're just going to go back to your regular diet. Well, you're not going to lose 30 pounds in 2 weeks.
Well, and I think that's the thing is that as I hear it, it's really about creating a routine that is sustainable, one that allows you to transition to it, because you're making a change to your life. And humans tend to be, at least in my experience, creatures of comfort. We find something that works and we stick to it, and we try to make it in such a way so that it doesn't interrupt the life and patterns that we've created. And so uh, what I'm hearing you say is find something that you're able to work into routine, created in such a way so that it doesn't disrupt much, and over time it just becomes your normal, and that will help you, obviously, with some of the science behind checking what you're eating, and how much of it you're taking in.
Yeah, like generally look at articles about what you're eating. Look at the nutrient contents. I more or less always look at the nutrient contents of what I'm eating, in terms of like if I'm getting a bag of chips or something. If it has trans fats, then I wouldn't suggest eating it at all, because the suggested consumption of trans fat is 0. Generally, just things like that. Look at the science, as Nestor said.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about this video that you found, because we're coming up on time here. I want to make sure we give the people all the information. So what is this video? What are we
It's
trying to
not
do
a
here?
it's not a video. It's a YouTube channel that I found. There are other tips also that I want. Sorry, hold on. This channel is usually, again, it has a lot of recipes. I really like this one. A lot of recipes that I've used to get through weeks. Generally, just save a bunch of money. They're pretty easy, and like he gives you tips on like how to not waste a lot of things. Like a lot of the waste that I get from onion skins and like leeks and stuff like that, I don't throw those away. I put them in a stockpile, and I utilize them in recipes like this. So generally, I try not to let things go rotten in my kitchen. Like I find that a great way to not waste a bunch of money. I don't know if that's a major problem for most people, but I found it a lot. I found it pretty useful to plan things out, like what I'm gonna buy each week, using like channels like these to figure out what recipes I'm gonna make for that week, and don't just buy surplus of anything. Like a few
Yeah,
tips I
that
can give
actually
you from
looks
that
pretty cool.
are generally useful. Like don't buy things that you could just do at home. Like I never buy plantain chips, for example, because like they're really easy to. It takes minimal labor. Same thing with like cheese. Don't buy sliced cheese. Just like shred it or slice it yourself. Things that are minimal labor. Just do it yourself. Trying to save money. It's like twice as much if you're buying shredded cheese. And the other thing, this is one of the last things I want to say, is that like buy in season definitely, because those are like there's a surplus of them. They're fresher. They're very cheap oftentimes. So yeah, there's a site called seasonal food guide where you can find out what foods are in season and what you should buy. So plan with that, I'd say.
Okay. Well, with that being said, I want to go ahead and take a moment to thank Renan for showing us that there is a way to eat smart, eat healthy, and eat cost consciously. Uh, but as with all things, you have to do research, and there is some work that is involved. But if it's something that you want to do, you have to actively bring this into your life in a way that's going to change some of what you do day to day. But it is possible. And certainly, I'm going to take a look at this website that you just brought up, which is called Struggle Meals. It's on a YouTube channel, so we're gonna check that out and see. But I love your ultimate hack, which is don't waste onion skins, chicken skin. All these other things can be used to create good stock or flavorful broths to cook in. So that you can make the food more flavorful, because cheap eating doesn't necessarily mean bland or tasteless eating. It just means you're being smart about how you use the ingredients and put together recipes that make sense and don't require a whole lot of stuff. Um, Renan, last thought for the people before we call it a day.
Yeah, I just want to like another thing that I wanted to bring up that you kind of I bring it up before, but again, like in terms of not wasting, always plan ahead. Like before you buy something at a grocery store, ask yourself like, what am I going to use this for? Like, will I fall through with it? Like, don't buy things that you that might go to waste or that you think could go to waste. Yeah, always make a list. Like, always make a list and always like relate that list to dishes you can cook this week or next week if it lasts that long. Like canned foods, I wouldn't like have a problem. I always get extra canned tomatoes, extra coconut milk, things like that, things of that nature. But yeah,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
one of my overall tips.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have it there from your SGA treasurer, Renan Barsha, who says make a list, make a plan, stick to it, and you too will be able to eat well on a budget, which is a good thing that I want to hear from my SGA treasurer, is how we do stuff on a budget. So we're going to thank Renan for being here with us this week as our featured guest. We want to thank Jeraine Nieves, our president of SGA, showing up to support her fellow peer. We want to thank LJ Latoya Jackson for being my technical backend support, and among many, many other things that she does for me in the Office of Student Leadership and Campus Life. And mostly we want to thank students for taking time to check us out here on the YouTube, uh, here at Gutman's YouTube channel, Gutman's website. Any questions about events, go to www.gutman.cuny.edu/events for the latest and greatest things that are happening on and off campus. And if you got questions, email us at leadership@gutman.cuny.edu. But for everyone in the Student Government Association and in the Student Leadership and Campus Life offices, we're going to say so long, farewell, and thank you for another exciting episode of SGA Live. Have a great day, people.